Welcome to Making Connection, as Making Connection connects the children and youth to the positive future through holistic development and secular ethics. I am Pinky, one of the senior students of this hostel. So today I am very fortunate to interview with Professor Keith and Professor Jhon, and they are also one of the Tonglen supporters, and particularly Professor Keith's family sponsors me. So I was very excited to meet with you. So thank you for your precious time. So my first question is for you. So how do you feel to see the Tonglen and particular me as your adopted daughter, first time which you didn't see or met before? Also, there are many children in all over the world need sport. Even in Tonglen hostel, there are many children. So why did you select me to sponsor me?
Well, I've known of Tonglen for a long time, and we've been involved for 8 years or so. I was delighted to have this opportunity to come out. I should have come out long ago, of course, and I've left it for a long time. And you really have to come out here to know what it's all about. You can see the videos, you can read about it, you can look at the internet site, but it's not the same as coming out here. We saw some of your videos. Some 8 years ago we were shown this wee picture of a beautiful little girl, and we thought, well, and we were introduced, and that was recommended as a way forward for support. And we were enchanted with yourself and the picture, and also the concept of Tonglen, and so we went off in that direction, and that's how it started. But now we've met you, you've fulfilled all the things which we thought that you could. You've done well in the classes and that, and it was really wonderful today to meet your family for the first time. I mean, that was really good to meet your sisters and your brother and your mum and your dad, and so we got a really good picture of how our adopted daughter is developing and how it's all going to work out.
So how do you feel to see the Tonglen?
Oh, I think we are very excited to see Tonglen. Like Keith, we have been involved in supporting one way or another Tonglen for a number of years. We sponsor Nanku, you know, and we're very pleased to meet him yesterday and to spend some time with him.
Yes.
And we like very much his position with all his friends and the kind of harmonious feel to the community here. So we like it very much indeed. And we chose, you asked the question, how did we come to sponsor Nanku? And basically Anna introduced us and said that we have this little boy here who needs support and friendship and help. And we are very pleased to be able to be one of his sponsors.
Yes. So, as you two are one of the excellent academic successful man or an intelligent great professor, so why education is important for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I believe the great man stuff. But my approach, I think education on its own doesn't have full value. Yeah. To me, the moral value of education has been that it gives people opportunity. You know, we all know that there are many well-educated crooks, if you see what I mean. So education on its own doesn't make you a better person.
Yeah.
But the value of education is that it gives people opportunity. It gave me opportunity, hopefully it will give you opportunity, hopefully it will give the children of Tonglen opportunity. But on its own, doesn't make you a better person, but education gives you opportunity. And I suppose that's why I've worked in education for as long as I have, because I think it provides opportunity, particularly to women around the world, to be educated. Many women are denied the opportunity of education, and therefore denied the opportunity, to decide things for themselves. So it's the power of education to provide people with the chance to decide for themselves what they do in life, rather than have other people decide it for them.
And for you?
Yes, I agree with that. The part about the great professor, that's very flattering. I quite like that, actually. But it's not how we see ourselves, and it's not how most other people see us. And of course, we are getting older, so our brain cells are flowing away, so we're no longer able to do the things we could. Education, yes, it leads to a fuller life. I agree with what Jhon has said, of course. And I think education means different things to different people. To some people, it means the actual being able to fit everything together and physically the techniques. Whereas to other people, it's a wider issue. I think we're exploring some of that later.
Does academic education is to shape mindset and mental attitude to cultivate the full potential of a human mind in finest way?
I'm not sure. And it's interesting when you talk about academic, in your question here, does academic education shape the mindset? And I'm not sure. Actually, I don't know. I think that we tend to think of academic education as to be with, for example, I'm an engineer, so we think about equations and structures and beams and all the engines. We love engines. For our point, we think about that as education. But I think that when you get into any subject, even a subject like mathematics or engineering, you come up to ethical issues. In engineering, to do with our impact on the environment, for example, to do with engineering applied for military purposes. You come up against ethical issues. If you study literature, you come up against issues to do with human beings, the way human beings relate to one another. So my view is it's quite difficult to separate out in any subject and just say, here's academic education and here's another sort of education. It seems to me that once you get into any depth, then the two things become almost inseparable.
Yes, I think following that up, I think traditional education is very useful, but it's not all that's needed. I think in life you need a lot more than that, and I think some great discoveries and some great things have been done by people who have not had a lot of traditional education, and yet it hasn't stopped them doing these wonderful things. Not just in engineering and technical areas and scientific areas, but in other, and then perhaps even more in other areas. Some of the great philosophers and that didn't have any formal education. So it's important, and it makes a means of communication, of course. But at the same time, it's got to be something more than that for full development, I think.
So, in my opinion, many people believe that if something is not holistic, that thing is not important usage. The partial knowing is not education for at all. The holistic knowing and holistic perception is the education. As when Mahatma Gandhi said that education doesn't mean to become a literacy to read and write. And also it's just a knowing of the letters. And one of the Tibetan professors said that if someone is not developed from the holistic, that individual not able to achieve to be humanist. Humanist means like flowering the love and compassion relative to entire the world. So as do you think as same, or as the current academic education is not good or not sufficient at that time? So what do you think?
Well, I think both what Mahatma Gandhi has
Yeah,
said.
Mahatma Gandhi and our
your professor.
Tibetan professor.
I think that the point that they are making is that have an education, for example, in mathematics or engineering or French, whatever it is, on its own, means you might be very good at engineering or mathematics or French, but unless you have another sort of intelligence, another sort of relating to other people, then the education you have, you can't develop fully. We have an expression in our country, we talk about emotional intelligence. It's the ability to relate to people. And it is important for every one of us to acquire a level of emotional intelligence as well as academic intelligence, because it's the emotional intelligence which enables us to communicate, to understand, and to have empathy. And that emotional intelligence comes not just from school or college, it comes from our mothers, most importantly, I think, from our mothers, from our fathers, from our family, from our friends. And that's how you acquire. And you need both, if you like, academic intelligence, but you need emotional intelligence as well, if you are to be able to play your full part in the world.
Yes, an example of that might be music, because you could learn to play music like a typewriter. You could transfer the notes onto a piano and make the notes, but you need something more than that. So the education can give you all the learning of the script for the music and the style and so on, will take you to a certain way, but you're never going to be a great composer. And to emphasize that, Mozart was writing symphonies and things when he was very young, 4, 5, 6. He hadn't had time to have all that traditional education, but it was in his mind. So some of it's innate, and some of it can be learnt. So education is a very broad word. It means all the techniques that you need in engineering, mathematics, and in language, techniques of communication. But you've got to have that as well, and feed all these things into a mix, which comes out as something which is educated. I had an interesting discussion on that very topic with your director earlier, who was talking about marketing social values. And that's a very nice concept. I hadn't heard those three words put together like that before. But marketing social values is a way of propagating the other side of education. And that could be non-cultural, could be spread around to all the different styles and so on. I think that could be a development for the future and a good way forward.
So many areas in all over the world, there are much violence, including educated people and religious believers, who they believe that they got they got their moral education from their religion. As well, in some cases, the educated people has done destructive things. So, what do you think? What would be the main causes?
Yes, this is a very difficult and troubling question. At one level, I think that there have been interpretations of religion that have been propagated, which the adherents, the people who follow those that religion, or that interpretation, have seen themselves justified because they have the truth. They have the truth, the whole truth, and they have the truth. And because they have the truth, by definition, other people don't have the truth. And somehow this becomes into a way of thinking. It legitimizes destruction. And so I think for at least some of the answer is the thought of religion.
Yeah.
It is religion is responsible in some way, for some of this violence, and it's a very painful thing to witness. So that's part of the answer. I don't think it's the whole answer, but certainly I think it might be part of the answer.
Yes, it may even be not religion. It may be something more basic. I think within our genes, within our makeup, we tend to be tribal. We feel more comfortable in groups that think like us, because that's what makes it possible to live. And because of that, people tend to then go along with whatever the tribe says. So a person born in a Christian country will become a Christian, and a person born in another country will become another religion. And the result of that is they stick where they are, so they don't think through the process. And society doesn't encourage them necessarily to think through the process. I think that will always be the case. Unfortunately, that's never going to go away. I think what education can do is perhaps encourage people to understand that there are other ways of thinking, even if they don't agree, even if they profoundly disagree, they can still understand that there are other ways of thinking of things. And I think that's the best that education can attain. I think the rest is built into us, and there will always, therefore, be wars and be disagreements and so on, unfortunately.
Yeah. So my Guruji said that in order to have right views between right or wrong, should not believe any kind of what they said or written in scriptures, or it is practicing society for long times, such as tradition. So you must have a sharp mind or intelligent mind, and you must examine or analyze the view by yourself as finding a logical reasons, such as a modern scientist has done. So do you think as the same they are, or if so, do we need to examine or analyze by ourselves in social belief which comes from many centuries?
I think what you're referring to here is, do we believe what we're told?
Yes.
Or should we actually inquire? And I think that as professors of a university, we tell our students, don't believe a thing. Don't believe anything I tell you. Check it out. And I think my advice to any young person is, don't believe anything. Believe nothing. But search for yourself. And that's not just a question of intelligence. You don't need the most intelligent person in the world. Anybody. Just be skeptical. Because you need to be an independent thinker. You need to think for yourself. And I would really encourage young people, I would encourage the graduates of Tonglen to think for themselves. You can respect tradition, respect your elders, respect the Guru. But the Guru isn't perfect. None of us are perfect. And really, work it out for yourself. And that way, I think you have the best chance of making a really good contribution to the world.
Okay. Well, I've been agreeing with John most of the time. I think I agree with most of that. But something to get through life in a practical sense, you do have to believe things sometimes. I mean, if you're going to wait at the bus stop and you're going to do analysis of the timetable, you have to accept that somebody's done it for you and believe what the timetable on the bus stop. So, but if you do that all the time and you never think things through, then perhaps then that would be wrong. I think a lot of people do that. And you've got to the big questions. You really have to think through yourself. I'm also going to disagree with you a little bit in your question, because you said as modern scientists do.
Yeah,
but I think in one sense, modern science is also a form of belief.
Yeah.
It believes we're all little atoms and the space between and so on. And if you analyse that, they don't know any more than we do. A lot of other people do, or religious leaders do, because there's a lot of work now being done on all sorts of aspects of the human makeup and the way it develops. And Einstein, of course, himself got completely, in the last 10 years of his life, got completely hung up on all sorts of strange theories about how people interact and the molecules interact. So it's not simple. And I don't think the modern scientists have a set of rules enabling the world to explain the world, but that doesn't explain anything beyond that. So they're just as difficult a place as we are in many of these big decisions, particularly the ethics and the morals and the rights and the wrongs and so on. And I think you do have to think it through for yourself, and education is a facilitator for that. That's why I would encourage all young people to read widely, way beyond their beliefs. Don't throw out their beliefs, because you need some beliefs to get through life. But just look beyond sometimes and question it, but don't upset your beliefs particularly, because you need that structure to help you to operate. And I think that's probably the best way forward. So it's a mix of everything. There's no simple solution. Not even the modern scientist has a simple solution.
So thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.